Coming up, the heat is on as parts of the country continue to sizzle. What you need to know about some surfaces before you head to the playground, park, or dog run. Plus, what zoos are doing to keep the animals cool. Then, summer slide. And no, we're not talking about the playground slide. Some simple things you can do to help retain what you learned in school over summer break. And yes, it does involve singing. Also, ancient discovery, dinosaur bones dating back more than 100 million years are found in Maryland. We're there with the details. Plus, meet this 8-year-old who was on a mission to build libraries for kids around the world.
I'm building a library for little boys and girls who don't have them. Because if you don't have libraries, you are at a disadvantage.
And the Fab Four will check in on those lion cubs who just marked another milestone and are one step closer to making their public debut.
This is NBC Nightly News, Kids Edition.
Welcome back to Nightly News Kids Edition. I'm Lester Holt. It's great to be back here in our New York City studios. We have a jam-packed lineup ahead, including our Picture of the Week, plus Messi Mania. It was a moment many soccer fans here in the U.S. have been waiting for. We'll explain in just a few minutes. But first, we want to begin on the weather front again. The summer heat continues to be brutal across many parts of the country, far worse than the typical hot summer days you might be used to. Here's a fact to put it all in perspective. This month is on track to be the hottest July ever recorded. Last week, we explained what a heat wave is and how you guys can keep cool and stay safe when it's really hot outside. But what about those outdoor surfaces we touch on a daily basis? Our friend Brooke Martell used an infrared thermometer to find out how hot some surfaces get when the temperature was in the upper 80s in San Diego, California.
Even if the air temperature isn't that warm, surface temperatures can be much warmer in comparison. Today, we used an infrared thermometer to take the temperature of surfaces that impact you, and taking a live reading right now of how hot the asphalt is in the sun, just around 124 degrees. This isn't even the warmest temperature we recorded today.
I decided to come around 8:45.
Get here early. That's one way to beat the heat.
We're just enjoying the breeze. It's on a little bit of a hill here.
But where there's direct sun, certain surfaces heat up quickly.
Let's get a temperature reading of the surface here of the grass. So if we take a look here out in the sunshine, we're getting a temperature of about 89 degrees according to our thermometer. Now let's go over to the shade. Obviously it's going to be much cooler over there, but if we take that reading, you can see the temperature right around 75 degrees, so nearly about a 15-degree difference here in the shade.
Just feet away at the dog park, surface temperatures were soaring.
Once she was out, she came right back. Yeah.
Gotta cool off.
Yeah, I think it's the paws on the sand.
Let's get a temperature reading of the sand here. So if we take a look, almost 130 degrees.
San Diego Humane Society says paws can burn on hot surfaces like asphalt or concrete. Find shade for your pet in this heat, just like Ever did for Emmy.
Just be aware of how they're reacting.
We're gonna get a temperature reading of this tire swing here. I think this might be the warmest temperature we've gotten so far. Let's see. Wow, 156 degrees Fahrenheit. That is very hot.
You don't want to sit on this tire swing, but you definitely don't want your kids running barefoot on this turf.
We're at a different part of the playground. We're gonna get the temperature reading of the surface of this turf. Let's take a look here. Is it gonna be the warmest one so far? Oh my gosh, 166. That's the hottest so far.
A reminder to think twice about where you sit or stand during this heat wave.
All right, Brooke, thanks so much. And joining us now is our good pal, Dr. John Torres. Dr. John, as we just watched in that story from California, some surfaces can really heat up, like that tire swing at the playground. What should kids and parents keep in mind as they go about their day when it's super hot?
And Lester, I think the biggest thing that everybody needs to keep in mind, but kids in particular, are that surface is probably a lot hotter than you think it is. If it's a metal surface, I think we all look at it and go, I don't want to touch that thing. It's going to be very hot. I want to be careful. But even some non-metal surfaces, if they're plastic or other types of surfaces, they can get hot enough to cause burns. So you want to be careful. So a couple of things to remember. Number one, touch it first. If you can't put your hand on it for more than just a few seconds, it's definitely too hot to sit on, because when you sit, there's much more contact because of the pressure of your weight. On top of that, you want to make sure that what you're sitting on is going to be appropriate in case your clothes slip. If your pant legs slip up or your arm sleeves slip up and that skin touches it, you want to make sure it's cool enough to where it's not going to cause a burn as well. And so the important thing is just to test it, not just for yourself, but if you're with your brother or your sister or your friends, especially if they're a lot younger, make sure they're okay as well.
So what should you do if you do happen to get burned on a hot surface?
So most of these burns are going to be what we call superficial burns, or first degree or maybe second degree burns, which are a little bit worse. They're not going to be the really bad burns when they come from the sun like this and they're on a hot surface. So a couple things you can do. Number one, remember that when it starts burning, when you're on a surface like that, even when you remove yourself from the surface, it's still going to burn for a little bit. That heat stays in your skin, so you want to take care of that. So first, let me talk to you about things you do not want to do. And this is any kind of burn, even if it comes from a hot surface. Number one, don't put anything on there that could cause more risks of infections. So toothpaste, people tend to put toothpaste on there for some reason. Toothpaste is great for brushing your teeth, and you definitely want to do that every day, but don't put that on a burn. Also, you want to make sure that you don't put any butter on a burn, because butter, it's great on toast, it's great for different pastries, but you don't want to put it on a burn because that could just cause more infections. And you might think about using ice. The problem with ice is it's too cold, and you can get it on your burn and it can cause the burn to get even worse because it starts freezing the skin around it. So you want to be careful. So what can you do? Well, first and foremost, you want to stop that heat process that you got from the burn. Run it under cold water, just tap water if you can find it. If not, if somebody can get what we call a cold compress, this is just a small towel that I wet with tap water, put that on top of it and leave that there until the burning gets under control and you don't feel that heat anymore. And then once that's done, you probably want to cover it up. So the best thing to do is use a gauze you can cover it up with. Problem is, if you stick that gauze on there, it's going to stick to anything that's there. So you want to use something like aloe gel. Put some aloe gel on it, and then go ahead and once you get the aloe gel on there, rub that around a little bit, and then put the gauze on top, and that'll make sure that it doesn't stick. You can take it off later. Now, one big thing, if there do happen to be blisters, you definitely want your parents to take a look at that. But don't pop the blisters. That's important. Let them pop on their own, because that'll reduce your chances of it getting infected. But for burns in general, those are some things you want to do, and definitely some things you don't want to do, Lester.
All right, really, really good advice. Let's just hope we get some cooler days ahead. Dr. John Torres, thanks as always.
You bet.
The brutal heat is not only hard on people, but animals too, and many zoos are stepping up to keep the animals safe and cool. Our friend Tylisa Hampton visited the Little Rock Zoo to find out how.
In the blazing sun, a mist of water can go a long way for any creature. At the Little Rock Zoo, when the temperatures rise, careful eyes are on the animals.
When there's an excessive heat warning, the great apes, we especially look for signs of heat stress. They're a lot like us, and they can overheat.
Director Susan Alciuri says the signs of heat stress are similar to humans.
Look at the way they're behaving. You can look at whether or not they're panting, if they're acting different, slower motions.
Finding all sorts of ways to protect animals from the heat.
We'll do a lot of frozen treats like fruit that will freeze in water, and it's this big giant ice cube in the case of our elephants.
Animals are also doing what they can to keep cool, like elephants throwing dirt on their backs, creating their own sunscreen, and nothing beats a tiger dip in the pool.
Tigers are actually aquatic. That's something that not a lot of people realize. Tigers really like to swim.
Alciuri says to be on the safe side, extra precautions have been taken.
We have added a lot of shade into a lot of the habitats. It can make a difference of anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees outside.
Every exhibit has a pool, but for some with happy feet, the Arkansas doesn't creep up on them.
They are South African penguins, so they're used to the warm weather, and we actually chill their pool to a nice, cool 66 degrees.
Making sure all animals have access to plenty of water even if guests cannot easily spot it.
It's a little spout that sticks out from the side of the wall, but it's there, and our animals know where it is, and they can go right up to it and they can lick it and get the water out.
All right, Tylisa, thanks very much. Well, putting the hot weather aside, we know it's summer, a time to have some fun, relax, enjoy your favorite activity, unplug from the school routine for a few months. But experts warn about something called the summer slide. It's a time when you guys can fall behind and lose some of the critical skills learned during the school year. There are some easy and fun things you can do to help prevent the summer slide. Our friend Megan Storm from the Mayo Clinic Health System explains.
So the summer slide is the term we use to describe kind of some losses, some skills that you've gained and worked so hard for during the school year. So on average, kids can lose up to 2 months of their reading skills and even more, closer to 3 months of their math skills. It's been around for a long time, but since the pandemic, it's even worse and just a little bit more. And kids are still working hard to catch up on some of those skills. So some things that parents and kids can work on right now during the summertime is really just building that love of learning. So they need to take it kind of outside the classroom and outside the box. This doesn't mean writing things down. It doesn't mean having to work on math sheets or anything. They can really use their skills in other ways that makes them just curious. A curious kid is a kid that's going to learn things. For example, if you're bringing your child to the grocery store, you can have them write down the grocery list. They can practice like weighing produce or deciding, well, what's a better deal? Is it this item or is it this item? And for your younger kids, they can just like count the things that are in the carts, for example, or talk about colors. If they're in the kitchen, they can do things like read recipes, write the recipes. They can learn to read labels. So calculating the amounts of different things or deciding, if it's a healthy thing or not. In the car, it's one of my favorite times to do learning. Sometimes you can easily, just read a book, but at the same time you can sing songs. You can practice a spelling bee. That's a great one for my kids. They can practice directions, like learning to read a map and which way to turn. And there's a lot of really kid-oriented podcasts. So if you're gonna just listen to something rather than watch a screen or just listen to the radio, there's like some science-based podcasts which are really interesting as well. You can take it out to nature. Every kid loves nature and being outside. So if you're at the park, identifying different trees or insects or plants and things are a great idea. You can research a park and where it came from. There's other things you can do, like if you're going on a trip or vacation, there's often some historical pieces that you can implement into it. So you can research what is in the area, what the weather is going to be like. You can talk about making a photo album of different things you're seeing, sending postcards to family members. It's going to practice some writing skills. So that's really fun too. So even if they do have a little bit of a summer slide, perhaps we've minimized that some so that it's not such a big gap. And really you've got a child that's ready, eager to be in the classroom and not going, oh, I don't want to be leaving all the fun things I'm doing at home. We've already kind of started incorporating some of those things. They're ready, eager to learn, ready to meet their teachers and have a great year.
All right, Megan, thanks so much for sharing those great tips. Now let's head to Maryland, where rare dinosaur bones dating back more than 100 million years were just discovered. The bone bed, as it's called, was found at Dinosaur Park in Laurel. Did you know a bone bed is a term paleontologists use to describe the discovery of bones of one or more species concentrated within a geological layer? Researchers linked the shin bone to a massive dinosaur.
It appears that it might be this dinosaur or something very closely related to this. This is called Acrocanthosaurs. It's a large predatory dinosaur.
Paleontologists say this is an extraordinary milestone and opens a window into our ancient world and to the species that once roamed the land. Meantime, many soccer fans here in the United States are super excited. The king of soccer has arrived. Just days ago, superstar Lionel Messi officially joined his new Major League Soccer team, Inter Miami. Last year, Messi led Argentina to a World Cup win. He has scored more than 800 goals for clubs and country and is considered to be one of the greatest to ever play the sport. Now Messi is looking to make his mark playing in Miami. We shall wait and see. Okay, speaking of sports and the summer, time for our pop quiz. We're just about 1 year away from the 2024 Paris Summer Olympics. So the question I have for you this week, where did the first recorded Olympic Games take place? Was it A, Greece, B, France, or C, Brazil? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Okay, time's up. The first known Olympics were held in the summer of 776 BC at Olympia, a site in southern Greece where people went to worship their gods. The Summer Olympics typically take place every 4 years in July and August. Now for our picture of the week. This week we head to Buffalo, New York for an update on these African lion cubs who have become known as the Fab Four. The cubs just had their 6-week checkup with the vet, who reports that their baby teeth are starting to come in, their claws are a lot sharper, and each cub's weight has hit a whopping 10 pounds. After bravely facing their first round of vaccines, we're told all 4 cubs received a clean bill of health and have gone back to be with mom for some more bonding time before they step out for their public debut at the Buffalo Zoo. Did you know lion cubs are actually born without teeth? Just like humans, lions grow a set of baby teeth, which eventually fall out and are replaced with bigger, stronger teeth. And those adult canines can grow as big as 10 centimeters long, about 4 inches. Ouch. Finally, in our Inspiring Kids series, an 8-year-old with a big heart is hoping to share his love of reading by helping get books in the hands of some kids in need. Let's get details now from our friend Savannah Sellers.
Like many kids, Justin Booma loves to play games, especially this one.
I like to do rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
In fact, Justin loved this game so much, it gave him an idea.
RPS is rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Justin started an RPS tournament to raise money to help build libraries in places like the war-torn country of Ukraine.
Learning is Fun Libraries, where we build libraries around the world and obviously locally as well. So this is our 2nd annual rock, paper, scissors tournament. And we aim to raise funds for our mission. So last year, we did our rock, paper, scissors tournament for our Hearts for Ukraine project.
It's part of Justin's organization, Heroes and Hearts, that he launched with his family to help educate and empower overlooked communities through literacy around the world.
I'm building a library for little boys and girls who don't have them. Because if you don't have libraries, you are at a disadvantage.
The very first library Heroes and Hearts helped build was in Las Vegas, Justin's hometown.
If you have a library and if you don't have a library, it can affect your whole lifestyle.
The 8-year-old says he knows how fortunate he is to have access to so many books.
I'm so excited for kids to get books and school tools.
With the help of partners, the organization just donated supplies to the people of Ukraine, and Justin and his family are planning a trip soon to the African country of Gabon to donate books and other supplies on what Justin is calling his literacy tour.
Did you know there are more libraries in the United States than on the whole continent of Africa? This is why I do my rock, paper, scissors, shoot tournament.
We are super excited to partner with all of our partners across the city and the United States to make sure that people around the world have access to books, to literacy, to knowledge. And we found out that there were more libraries in the United States than on the whole continent of Africa. And he's like, what? And I know it's surprising, like a 4-year-old, but this is what he was thinking at the time. And so we were thinking about how we could change that, like how we could help little boys and little girls, of course, around the world. And Justin was like, I will build libraries for the little boys.
Help me change the world with your change.
Justin has big goals and hopes he can inspire other kids to do something.
And I think that that is the key to Heroes and Hearts. I think that that's the key to Justin Boomer, is that our goal is to inspire people, that you don't have to be big or strong to do big things.
So you have to have your mind to think, your eyes to see, your ears to hear, and your heart to feel. And your mouth to speak.
Savannah, thanks so much. Well, that's going to do it for us. Parents, just a reminder, if your child has a question about any topic in the news, email a video to us at nightlynewskids@nbcuni.com, and we'll try to answer them in an upcoming episode. You can also follow us on Instagram @NightlyKids. Thanks for watching, everyone. Remember to take care of yourself and each other. So long.